A suburban neighbourhood is transported back to prehistoric times, and the residents must now survive an onslaught of deadly dinosaurs. This is a throwback adventure movie from the director of It Follows. Join us for The End of Oak Street. Welcome everyone to the Atomic Cinema Experiment. I am Peter, and joining me as always is David.
I come in peace.
This is a science fiction movie podcast, and today we've got a brand new theatre release to talk about. We have been graced with The End of Oak Street, a dinosaur movie from the director of It Follows. What a wild string of details.
It's a natural progression. Every director does the out there high concept horror movie followed by dinosaur movie. It's just how it goes.
I appreciate that joke, but it's actually kind of the opposite in a lot of ways. There's actually been kind of a shocking lack of dinosaur movies that don't have the word Jurassic in the title since Jurassic Park came out. Like, go on, name one that isn't a Jurassic Park movie since 1993. I dare you.
Well, at the end of the episode, I do a homework movie, and I got one. I have one.
You do? There is one?
Don't think too hard on it. I want to be able to surprise you.
Okay. All right. I'll we'll see if I dispute this, because I wouldn't count people will say
it is hardcore in a dinosaur movie setting.
Okay. Because it wouldn't be this because we haven't done it on Ace yet, but like some people would say, well, technically the King Kong movie. I'm not. There's a dinosaur in one scene. No. I'm not counting that. No,
definitely not. No.
Right. Anyway, so yes, End of Oak Street is a simple premise. A neighborhood, not just the street, it's just kind of like a big circle of area, is mysteriously teleported back in time to prehistoric dinosaur times, and all of a sudden this little suburban neighborhood is having to survive as dinosaurs are rampaging around. That's it. That's the premise. It's that simple. No more explanation is needed. So, yeah, and it's funny because this was it had a different title. It was because I think the name did come up in the movie. What the original title was? It was like Fruitvale or something like that.
Yeah, the town is Flowervale.
Flowervale, that's what it was. That was at least the working title. I don't know if they always intended to switch it, or that was just like a code word, or if they actually changed the title. I don't know, but either way, that was what was on IMDb for a good couple of years before they changed it earlier this year.
Yeah, trivia says that it was up until the very first teaser trailer. That was the first thing that anything said End of Oak Street, but all the public stuff was always End of Oak Street, so maybe it was just a code word.
I mean, End of Oak Street is probably a stronger title between two, because it sounds a bit more unique.
It also has that double entendre of, the end of the street, but also it is the end of the street.
Yes, both the end in like the area circumference and the end as in it's over.
Yes.
It's done. Bury it. Yes. So, yeah. So the big thing here, other than the fact that we have David Robert Mitchell, who directed It Follows, directing this, which is an interesting career path, because it's not like he's done a ton of stuff since It Follows, and this is kind of wildly different from the other things that he's done. We also have Anne Hathaway and Ewan McGregor as our main cast members here, as the parents of the main family. Although the son of the family did look familiar, and when I clicked on his name, he had been in a few things that I had seen. He was in the Sweet Tooth TV show. He was like the main kid in that. He was also in a couple other movies, so he's popped up and stuff over the last 5 years, so you might recognize him. Only other actor I really recognized was PJ Byrne as kind of the shitty neighbor character, Mel. He's popped up in a bunch of stuff. He was in a Final Destination movie. People probably know him from The Boys. He's like the crappy director character in that. He's very typecast as the douchey guy who you're kind of looking forward to maybe getting killed. That's his shtick. He's made a career out of being that asshole. So
I feel bad for he gets good work, so I don't feel that bad for him, but I do kind of feel bad in the same way that I feel bad for the actors who play Joffrey from Game of Thrones, of his going around in public life can't be that easy.
Oh yeah, people probably crappy to him. I could see it.
Yeah.
So yeah, premise is simple. We'll get into impressions and we'll see how we feel. So David, actually, I haven't said the blurb yet. We'll start spoiler free. We'll give you a warning before we get into spoilers. And if you're enjoying the show on YouTube, hit the like button, helps out a bunch. And of course, you can support everyone over in Patreon. But I'll tell you more about that at the end of the episode. So David, what did you think of the end of Oak Street?
I found myself really enjoying it. I don't think it's anything too complicated. It's nothing too like, oh, we're coming at this and it's this really high concept. Again, going back to It Follows, without going too deep into that movie, that one was like really deeply creative and it had like a really cool idea to it and it had all these bigger things layered on top of it that it could represent and all this other stuff. I don't feel like I got that whole thing here. I think there are great character pieces being done, but overall, it just feels like a throwback to early 80s, like adventure sort of movies. It just feels like it's trying to emulate that sort of nature of we have these characters that are otherwise in a boring suburban life, and then they get thrust into some larger, not whimsy, but like a larger story a la like the Goonies sort of thing. I wouldn't say the Goonies is whimsical, but there's this magic to it, even when it gets a bit darker. And that's kind of what I was feeling in this. The other side of that is that it has like crazy gory moments and genuinely shocking, like, oh God, I can't believe they actually went through with that. So I was in on all that. The one thing I do really, really want to call out though, of what I found so impressive of this movie is that we follow this main family the entire time. But every time we run into a side character, it feels like their entire backstory up until the moment we see them was fully fleshed out. Like they went through a ton of stuff that we just don't get to see. And I don't think there's a single character in this movie that I wouldn't be interested in seeing. How did we get to this point? Like what happened here? And for every side character to have that is genuinely impressive to me. So no, overall, it's a fun time. I had a good time with it. I think the ending could be a little bit dicey depending on what you want out of this movie, but overall, I enjoyed it. So, yeah.
The ending will be an interesting conversation and spoilers because I think my initial reaction to one element of it was one thing, and then when I thought about it a little bit more, I went, "Oh no, wait! I see something that's happened here. That's actually like." Basically, I was like, "Oh, we're going to talk about this in the sense it almost was like a plot hole." But then I think, no, I think that's actually intentional, and I think there's like there's a purposeful thing that's been done here. So we'll get into that obviously later. I like this quite a bit. It's not perfect. There is definitely some things that feel a little underdeveloped, or maybe even not underdeveloped to the point. Well, yeah, underdeveloped. But the solution wouldn't be to develop some things further. It would just be to cut them out. What I'm getting at here is that some of the marital problems the two leads have got, like the broad strokes of it, I think are very fine, and actually lean quite well into how they react to their situation with the dinosaurs, how they're going to deal with that. But they also get really specific about some things that they've got going on, and I think those things feel like they're brought up and then never like amount to anything. For example, it's mentioned in one scene that Ewan McGregor's character has a drinking problem. But if they never told us that in that one scene, you would never know that because it never comes up in any way, shape, or form for the rest of the movie. So it's just a couple of little nitpicks like that, or things that just feel like they don't really go anywhere. However, aside from that, this is it's just a good B movie. It is fundamentally how I describe it, and yeah, it did make me think of 80s movies, not just because it's clearly set in the 80s. Although I was surprised when they put a year on it, because I thought they were going to do the It Follows thing again, where it's like vaguely any time between the 50s and 90s, and we're not going to be really quite sure when.
I felt like such a dick the whole movie because I was sitting there taking note of like the music and like certain like magazines, and I was going to try to like backwards figure out what year it could be. And then they just outwards say it right at the end. I'm like, oh, all right, whatever. All that was for nothing. Yeah,
it wasn't a mystery this time. It was just what it is. Which that is not spoil. It's 1982. It's fine. That's not revealing anything. It's
no, not at all.
So yeah, it's funny because obviously I think going into it, because it's dinosaurs, I feel like everyone was going to go into this and go, oh, how much is it taking from Spielberg? And the funny thing is at about 10, even not even far into the movie, even before we got to the dinosaur stuff, I was like, that's the wrong comparison here. I'm not getting Spielberg from this. I'm getting Joe Dante from this. This feels like a modern Joe Dante movie, and that pleases me because I really like Joe Dante, and it's kind of wild to me that this director did something that felt like a throwback to John Carpenter meets Nightmare on Elm Street with It Follows, and how magical experience that was. And now he's doing what feels like a really authentic 80s adventure movie that feels like Joe Dante might have made it. I'm like, it's like he's just like, oh, what's he going to do next time? Well, next time he's doing They Follow, I think. But he could just pick another director he likes from the past and go, I'm going to do one of those, and probably do a pretty good job at it, given that this turned out very well. I think some of the dinosaur moments are probably a little bit darker than you would get in a Jurassic Park movie, so that was fun to see. It does do some interesting surprises. And this may sound like a backhanded compliment, this one, but honestly, 100 minutes, beautiful. Oh, yeah. Beautiful. If this had been 2 hours and 15 minutes or something like that, it might have completely buckled and suffered under the weight of the runtime that it was trying to extend out to. But as it is at 100 minutes, it spends 15, 20 minutes doing your setup. Here's the family, here's their suburban life, here's some of the problems they might have. Boom. Plot thing happens. We're in the past, and we have to go through the discovery of it. I appreciated the pace at which it moved, so that any B-movie foibles that might come up, because B-movies typically have them, it tends not to be a big deal as long as things keep moving and you're enjoying the things that they're doing. Like, you're enjoying the set pieces, you're enjoying the thrills, whatever it is they're doing at any given moment. And that's how this movie operated. It's like, hey, yeah, there's some things, if you stop and think about them too much, you can nitpick if you like. But I will also say, and I can't spoil anything, but there is a moment near the end that is one of the funniest moments I have seen in a movie in quite some time. So
I'm trying to... There's so many tiny little moments of humor that are spread throughout this.
There is, yeah.
I'm trying to think specifically at the end what you would think is that moment. I think I have it, just knowing your personality, but we'll see when we get there.
We'll see. I know I've heard... I have heard some dinosaur aficionados have critiqued that, some dinosaurs wouldn't exist at the same time, and I'm like,
yeah.
Look, who cares? Who cares?
Honestly, I appreciate the fact that this is one of the, I wouldn't say first movies, but with Jurassic Park, they have kept very solid to the initial idea of Jurassic Park, which is these dinosaurs are bred with frog DNA or whatever else like that. And they use that as the excuse of, why do they not have feathers? Because between Jurassic Park coming out and now, we kind of realized, pretty much all the dinosaurs had feathers. They were early birds. They all would have had some amount of feathers. This is one of the first times I can really think of cinematically that we have pretty much had fully realized what the modern look of dinosaurs is, rather than aping back to the Jurassic Park look.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple that still feel more akin to Jurassic Park, but there's definitely some that are a lot more feathery or even furry, I'd say, in one or two cases.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I assume is also... It feels too specific to be something that they would just randomly add in. It feels like that must be scientifically true and just not brought to the forefront of pop culture yet. Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not like they're so wildly different from Jurassic Park where you're going, it's a completely changed how we think dinosaurs look. It's just, it's a little different.
It is, but I mean, I assume that the first threat that really come across, those are velociraptors. I have to assume that. And they are very feathery. They look extremely different to what they did in Jurassic Park. It took me a while to realize, that's what we're doing here? Okay.
I never even thought about it. It never clicked in my brain that's a velociraptor, honestly. Right. It never even occurred to me that's what it was. But it doesn't matter, though, because it's not like... This isn't Jurassic Park in the sense that characters start turning around and naming what the dinosaurs are. No one names a single dinosaur in this. You can guess one might be kind of a T-Rex. Although, honestly, the only one that I recognize 100% for sure is a Spinosaurus. because it's very distinct looking. But there's another thing where I'm like, that might be a T-Rex, or it looks different enough from what I expect a T-Rex to look like that it might actually not be it may be a slightly different species of dinosaur.
It is the Allosaurus.
Allosaurus, there you go.
Is whenever you don't want to do the T-Rex, but you still want a big thing chomping around.
Sure. So, it's it's a fun time. I like, it feels like it fits all the things. Like I said, a couple of little character things with the marital problems does feel like a little underdeveloped, and then in one particular case, I think it actually does one of them slightly dirty. Okay. Because I think it's meant to be like a 50-50, like, they're both kind of like equally at fault. They're both, they both have their issues. But I think one of them ends up feeling a little bit worse just because the script does them dirty, not because they actually are worse. Right. But we'll get into all that.
Yeah. I would also say, each of the family members, the main couple have the marital problems. The son and the daughter both have their own little subplots going on,
their own marital problems.
Yeah, exactly. Their own little subplots going on. I think I really do appreciate the daughters. I think the sons was a little unfocused. I kept on thinking, because we set up very early on the Stranger Things-esque group of friends, like riding their bikes around, doing whatever. I kept expecting that to be something, and it isn't. As far as I'm aware, these friends just all immediately died as soon as they were teleported back. I don't think we see a single one of them.
Yeah, we don't see any of them. Which is, you're right. I thought there was going to be a bit more, maybe, to that. So, yeah. What's funny is they've got a dog named Starbuck, and I immediately went, oh, Starbuck from Battlestar Galactica. And then, like, 2 scenes later, I noticed in his room a poster for the original Battlestar Galactica. I'm like, aha! They put some thought into this.
I mean, I would assume that he's the one who named the dog. Like, at least when I was growing up, that was always a family decision, but it's his dog, they explicitly say. Yeah,
he seems to be the one who cares most about the dog. He's also a Superman fan. He's got Superman bed covers. Although he's at that age where he's now looking at the lingerie section of the catalog.
Yep. Look, that was about as tame as it could have possibly been. In terms of what we were looking at, it was the Sears catalog. There was nothing going on there.
I mean, like, I wasn't alive in this dark time before everyone had access to the internet and the vast array of material that would come with that. As I understand it, kids back then had to make do with the catalogs.
Oh, yeah. No, I can't remember where it's from, but I just remember the joke of, like, we would flip through and we would, like, land on the static when you don't have the premium channels. We land on the static and we just try to see a nipple through there.
Yeah, but you'd all right, maybe hear a little bit of noise or something coming through.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. How times have changed. So yeah, if you want like an 80s adventure movie that has that kind of vibe, something that feels maybe a little bit like it could be a Twilight Zone episode or something to that effect, then this is a fun time. I think if you want that type of movie, if you're here for the fun and the fun ride of it, if you're here for like everything to be hard explained as a serious science fiction like thought piece, no, that's not what this is. This is an adventure movie where the sci-fi gets us to dinosaurs. But it's all about the like, okay, what do we do now here? Okay, how much food have we got in the house? Because we can't just go and get more easily. Like, what's the solution to these problems? That's what this movie is. And it's a pretty fun time.
Oh, yeah. No, and also, there are certain aspects, especially during the dinosaur attacks, where you can feel that slow horror influence from It Follows. I'm most specifically, like, because we're on the street, you'll get these shots where it's just fully turning 180 degrees, and we'll see a family like down the street running away from velociraptors, and then like some other dinosaur moving behind a house, and it's atmosphere shots, but they really work in the way that they're selling it.
Nah, they're good. There's a couple of scenes actually where they do like, and it's very easy to miss like just a little peek of something behind the house, like just bobbing over the roof, and then like 10 seconds later it steps out and it's coming towards them. It's like, okay, here we go. Like that it's fun to notice that stuff.
Yeah, the Allosaur scene, like when that's starting getting going, that is, or no, it's sorry, the Spinosaur scene. As soon as that starts to get going, that's like one of those peak moments where you're like, oh God, this is, because it's just tiny little hints for like a good minute up until it finally starts happening.
It's also, it does the thing where, like, in my head, I was like, wouldn't they hear that dinosaur? And I'm like, you know what, that's Jurassic Park's training, because Jurassic Park did the whole tremors in the water thing to imply that every time the T-Rex takes a step, it's like a tremor. And it's like, yeah, it probably wouldn't actually be that strong of a thing. So I appreciated at one point they do a thing where it's like, oh, wouldn't they hear that? Oh, it's starting to get a little bit loud. Oh, it's getting louder as it gets closer. Oh, they're going to notice this. Oh, there it is. Look, it's coming.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. There is one, I don't want to say directorial choice. I would say it's probably more cinematographer. They do a lot of split depth shots where we get like one character's face on the left-hand side or right, it doesn't matter. One character's face really close up, and then another character or some other characters in the background, and they're both in focus. And this is what got me thinking the most about like the callbacks, the feeling like it's in the 80s. Because I remember, especially as we were doing 70s thriller season over on Collector's Cut, that came up every once in a while. That was the thing that felt like it was them experimenting and getting this feel for like, oh, look what we can do with this now. Yeah.
I think, when it's just like two faces, I don't like that effect. I don't like split focus. That said, though, there was a couple of times early on, it's when Anne Hathaway's in a house talking to the old lady, and they do it where it's like she's in focus, and then the split focus is actually just like the outside where all the kids are playing on this like summer day. And I thought that actually was kind of effective, because it felt really disorientating. I'm like, whoa, this is really uncomfortable, just how weird her head is in focus with all this stuff in the background. And I'm like, okay.
Plus, context-wise, what they're talking about, it works as well. Like, it's saying they're inside and then separated from the party that's going on outside.
Yeah. And the conversation they're having's not... I mean, it's not an unpleasant conversation, like, as a whole. They're not having, like, it's not like they're having a sad conversation, but the themes they're talking about are kind of hinting at sad things. So
it's just leading more in on the marital problem stuff. Yeah. That's pretty much all it is.
So, Michael Giacchino does the score. It's, not necessarily any super memorable themes, but it fits everything very well. It feels like it has all those adventure-y vibes that you would want.
Yeah.
Brash flourishes, whatnot.
It's weird because obviously for a new release, I feel like we tend to go longer as we're just, more excited. We potentially would have been waiting for this. This one, it's not a complicated movie. It doesn't feel like there really is that much to dig into in terms of modern releases and how complicated they usually are. But it's still just such a fun time that I'm happy to talk about just the moments that I was into and I thought were very well done.
Well, that's the biggest asset this movie has, is how simple and fun of a B movie it is. It's kind of its biggest strength, that it isn't trying to be this 2.5-hour blockbuster that keeps on going, that is doing too much to try and please everyone. It feels like it knows where it wants to be. Now, admittedly, it's not doing that well at the box office, which maybe is more of a marketing thing or anything, and sadly...
That's coming out at the same time as Spider-Man thing.
But I mean, it's its third weekend. Like, it should be enough time that something else can do okay.
You'd think.
Unfortunately, though, the Odyssey's also beaten it, which is on its like 5th or 6th weekend. So that's a little bit different. Hathaway is swaying herself.
Yeah, sure.
There was a joke in there. I couldn't quite find it, but it was.
I'm pretty sure for the past 3 weeks I've tried to like pitch a joke and you just no sell it, so I'm just doing the same back.
That's fine. Yeah, but I knew that was bad. I was leaning into the badness of it. I was having fun with it. You see,
that's my excuse too.
Yeah. Yes. Anyway. I guess it's probably time for spoilers. I don't really know how much more we can talk about in spoiler-free, because we're going to talk about how the plot progresses, any of the kills that pop up, some of the bigger set-piece scenes, and of course discussing the ending and whatnot. Also, it's funny that I had just been listening to Valerie by Steve Winwood recently, because it plays in this song or in this movie at one point, and it started up in like a couple of notes and I'm like, I recognize this. What is it? And I'm like, oh, it's Valerie by Steve Winwood.
Here's the thing, I recognized the song as it was playing in the movie. I was like, especially when it hit the chorus, I'm like, I recognize that little trill, like how the beats play out there. But I don't think I've ever heard the original. I only ever heard a club mix that was made that sampled it. And
I know what you're talking about, because it was because the club mix is called "Call on Me," but it's using Valerie,
right, exactly. And like I played Valerie, I was like, no, it's not ringing any bells. And I googled it, and I was like, oh, it was a part of a different song. And I played that. I'm like, oh, this is what? Yep, I've heard this a billion times. Got it.
Yeah. But obviously period appropriate. Although I'm sure someone's going to that didn't come out until 1984, so technically it's not period appropriate.
It is 1982. I did look that up.
Ah, okay.
So actually, that was just when the music video was coming out. So I think it might have actually been like 1978, if I remember correctly.
David, just a barrel of trivia right now.
I am. I looked into this movie. Also, if we haven't technically hit spoilers yet,
no.
If you go onto IMDb currently, as of recording this, don't check the trivia, because they just spoil one of the most major character deaths, like without any spoiler tags, like 3 times right up front.
Oh, geez.
So definitely don't do that. Also, apparently there was a little bit of a kerfuffle with the marketing of this, maybe about a week or 2 ago as of recording, which is they had the dog, Starbuck, on a fake, apparently it's a real podcast, but it's an AI generated podcast that is hosted by other dogs. And it was done for marketing purposes. And I look, I don't think that it impacts the movie at all. I think it's a stupid move in today's, like, either all in on AI or not at all kind of mentality. If you don't have to do it, don't do it. But I will say, I watched the interview, I watched the podcast and like how they did Starbuck, and they were also just spoiling major plot points. I don't feel like they give a damn about anything with spoilers in the marketing of this movie. So
weird.
Be careful, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's not even on the people who made the movie, though, is it? It's just the marketing department.
Yeah, I guess. It was down to Warner Brothers, but I'm sure it's Warner Brothers marketing.
Yeah, but like... Yeah, I'm not going to hold it against the movie if the marketing does some stupid AI stuff, but it's worth calling out. And but anyway, let's get into things, shall we? Spoilers for the end of Oak Street. You've been warned. I'm
going to just jump in right here for anyone who is just waiting to see spoilers. The dog does live. If that's a major thing to you, the dog does live.
Yeah, he shouldn't have. But he does.
I mean, I think there was also just like a stray cat. The cat lives. All the little animals live except for the unnamed ones.
Yeah, I mean, as far as we know. But I just like at a certain point I was like, "There's no way this dog's still alive." But of course, it comes out for the big save at one point, and I'm like, this is just this is movie bullshit. That dog's so gone. He's so dead. Yeah. But yes. I will say this. Well, it does obviously end in demise. A sledgehammer turned out to be a rather effective weapon against a big dinosaur in a way that I did not see coming, and I appreciated like how unique that felt.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Anne Hathaway spends a whole movie toting around the shotgun, and yeah, that feels like standard fare, good enough. But then you see Ewan McGregor with the sledgehammer, and you're thinking, all right. I'm betting he's going to, like, swing it at one of the flying birds that comes by. That feels like it would do some heavy damage to them. Nope. Straight up into an Allosaurus's head. And it's one of the most badass moments.
Yeah, I mean, he basically, obviously gets back up after like 5 seconds, but he knocks it down. It goes down. Maybe saying knockout isn't right because it gets up so quick, but like it does take it off its feet. Also, before that, he also hits it in the back of the ankle, which also felt like it did enough damage to really get its attention. Where he's like, "Wait a minute."
Yep.
So,
well, look, I mean, if we're just jumping like kind of that sequence right there, I gotta say, this movie did genuinely catch me off guard with the character death.
Oh,
with Ewan McGregor.
I mean, everything about that scene is really well shot because they do this thing, and part of it's in the trailer, but it's like the Allosaurus is chasing the kids, so in comes Ewan McGregor sort of waving at the dinosaur, "Hey, don't pay attention to him, come and get me," like, protecting his kids. And then he runs up about the street, And then Anne Hathaway's there with the shotgun and she fires. And it's all done in one shot. It's this one shot kind of like following and swapping between the characters on the street. And then she gets chased into like the porch of a house where the pillars are kind of keeping it back for a bit, but it's clearly about to get in. And that's when he comes up with a sledgehammer to save the day. And he does to a point.
Hero moment.
Yeah. But then, of course, he gets his leg bit. He's picked up and thrown to the ground. And then you're thinking, okay, his leg's badly injured. That's going to be a big thing. And then the Dialosaur's head just comes down and just bites the entire top half of his body off. And it's like, he's dead. And the rest of the family have to like get away because obviously they've got a chance while it's too busy eating the husband. It's distracted, but they're also really emotional because they're just watching their loved one get killed. So it's kind of this awkward, like getting away slowly moment.
Anne Hathaway just stands there for a good 30 seconds of just like, oh God, that just happened. Oh no. And obviously you can't have many more marital problems after your husband was just eaten by an Allosaurus. So that's her coming to terms with everything that was left unsaid and everything else there. But the following scene is then just, all right, let's deal with the fact that we're all in grief and shock. And oh no, we have to move through that.
Well, so let's rewind. We'll go back to the start of the movie, shall we?
65 million years ago.
Not that far back. I think we're actually further back than that. Because 65 million years ago is when the dinosaurs ended, and they specifically say in this movie, one of the plants that comes up has been extinct for 200 million years. So we're in 200 million years territory here, apparently.
Gotcha. I'm not sure what that would equate to. What era that is. I don't think it's Jurassic.
No. Cretaceous?
Era. 200 million years ago. Era. Apparently 201 to 145 was the Jurassic period.
Oh, okay.
So we're right at the very beginning of the Jurassic, if that is
probably before.
The case.
Probably before that, because if you think about it, if that plant's been extinct for 200 million years, there's a good chance that we're not in that last one.
Right.
Right.
So then most likely this is the Triassic period.
Triassic. Okay. That's all right. And no Triceratops. I don't even know if they were in that period. I'm just making a joke because it starts with the word try.
No clue.
So, yeah. All right. So, yeah, movie starts, cul-de-sac, classic 80s suburban neighborhood. They're doing a sack race. It's like a summery barbecue day where all the families are all together doing stuff. And everything seems happy. And someone even says to Ewan McGregor, you've got a great family. You're so lucky. And then the problems start to emerge where they're fighting about, should the son be allowed to bring the dog out because the dog causes trouble? Should this, that? And then he's like, I have to go do some deliveries. And she's like, I thought you were going to spend a day with the family. So there's just little points of contention are kind of coming up.
Yeah, they lean into it super hard, super quick, where the kids are sitting off to the side and they see the parents are stepping aside to have a conversation. And the son's like, do you think mom and dad are going to get a divorce? And the sister's like, no, there's no way. They would never let that happen. Cut to Anne Hathaway saying, are we going to talk about the divorce? Are we going to do that?
Well, she never says the word, but she does. The implication's very are we going to have this conversation? And they're like, dear. Which is interesting because it's probably actually the most Jurassic Park thing about the movie, other than the fact that there's dinosaurs, because Jurassic Park's whole, I don't even know if we call it subtext or cut plot, but the idea in Jurassic Park is the reason why the kids are visiting Uncle John Hammond is because their parents are going through a divorce, and that's why Tim's looking for a father figure, and Alan Grant and stuff like that. And then they sort of brought that forward with Jurassic World, where they literally send their kids to Jurassic World to visit Aunt Claire, because the parents are having a divorce. So it feels weirdly kind of in line with that one spiritual thing about Jurassic Park.
Maybe that's the point. Maybe they're just like, hey, but what happens when the kids stay with the parents and they still have to go to Jurassic Park?
Yes. What happens when no one knows anything about dinosaurs? how do we deal with that?
Or Unix systems, for that matter.
Well, I don't think anyone in this movie knows what a computer is, or at least doesn't know how you use a computer, so...
I don't... There was a typewriter. I don't think I ever saw any sort of computerized anything in this movie.
No. I mean, it did exist in 1982, but they weren't as, in every household as obviously they've become.
I guess the kid would have an Atari. That would be where we'd be at.
Yeah, this is pre-Nintendo, for sure. Atari's kind of the pinnacle of what the video gaming systems might be, which is why they're out on bikes doing boring kid shit.
you know, going around with his bow and arrow,
That's right.
as all kids do.
Hey, in 1982, they might have been doing that. I don't know.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it at all. That's the sort of thing where I think there's a sequence just after the dinosaurs start attacking where a young girl is coming out singing the theme song to the Flintstones. And I'm like, that's so weird because, like, yes, the Flintstones would have still been on reruns at that point. Like, a kid would know the Flintstones.
It was still on reruns when I was growing up in the 90s.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, for a kid nowadays, Flintstones are a gummy. I don't think they know them for anything besides, like, Fruity Pebbles cereal. That's it.
You think? You think if you said Yabba Dabba Doo to, like, an 8-year-old, they wouldn't understand what you were doing?
I think they would flag down mom and say, Dad's having a stroke.
All right, okay. You may be right. You may be right. I hadn't really thought about it. But so much of kids' TV when I was growing up was a lot of old cartoons, like, you know, your Hanna-Barbera stuff and things like that.
Oh yeah.
But
I mean, I had it too. I didn't get cable until I was like 7 years old, so I had all the public access stuff growing up. I was very aware of that old-timey VHS recordings.
Well, even once I got cable, like Cartoon Network was like half the schedule was old stuff, and then they created Boomerang as a second channel to put all the old stuff on because they had too much new stuff at a certain point.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I mean the setup I appreciate because part of me thought, oh, it's going to be the first night that the travel's going to happen, but it wasn't. There was a few nights of and it's not that it wastes too much time. Like it gets through that time period quite quickly, but it sets up a few things because we see that making deliveries turns out to be delivering pizza. And they set up that, oh, he takes off the pizza sign off the top of the car because it embarrasses Anne Hathaway. Which is kind of what I was getting at earlier when I said that the script does one of them a little bit dirty. I feel like she comes off feeling a little bit more unlikable of the two, but only because, not because like her complaints, other than maybe being embarrassed that he's trying to make extra money, but he does lie about the fact that he lost his main job, right? So he did lie about that. But other than like being embarrassed about this, which feels a little bit snobby, it's really just the fact that all the things she seems to bring up about him that are a problem, like the drinking and stuff like that, never really manifest, and we ever see him do any of it. So inherently, it just makes it feel like he's not as bad as her, which is weird because I think if you took out those extra things that never go anywhere, I would be more on her side, because the core thing that I do think works is the idea that she wants to be proactive and deal with the problem in their marriage. He just wants to like wait because it'll get better, it'll fix itself, right? That's his problem. And that then extends to how they deal with the dinosaurs, where she's like, oh, we have to be proactive. How are we going to get food in the week? We might never be able to go back. We have to deal with these very likely scenarios. And he's like, no, I believe we'll get back. Well, we'll wait it out. We won't do anything. God will help us, probably. That'll be a thing. And like, so I appreciated that because it felt like, okay, this core dynamic in their marriage and how they both try and view that problem extends to how they view the dinosaur problem, and the same faults arise. And I think in that front, it felt fine. And I think all of her grievances felt completely valid because, yeah, he's just trying to ignore problems. But then all the things she says that he does, we never actually see happen. So it feels weirdly like deficient in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I get where you're coming from with that. I agree that this movie does do Anne Hathaway more dirty than it does Ewan McGregor. At a certain point, it does kind of feel like the movie is setting it up for, well, yeah, he's the one who dies. Like, you have to like him so that when he dies, you feel something. You're like, oh no, he died. But I think there's room for character growth and still liking the character at the same time.
For sure. And maybe it's just because they cut a couple of things for time that would have felt like it balanced out more or something. I'm not sure. I
guess I'm just trying to figure out what it would have been. So if we're just talking about the idea of like, okay, he's drinking and then these deliveries make her embarrassed or whatever, like what possible character beats could have been cut out of this that would have made him look more negative to the audience?
Probably nothing to do with the deliveries per se, but I don't know, maybe his inaction almost gets one of the kids killed or something. And it's like, hey, that's a direct consequence because you refuse to take something seriously or address an issue or something. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
By the way, I should have brought this up earlier in the pre-spoiler section.
Uh-huh.
Ewan McGregor's American accent
Oh.
is rough.
It's not great. It's not. It's never been great. Every time I've heard him do an American accent, it always, because he was in a season of Fargo, and I thought that was particularly, like, it's actually a very distracting thing to me whenever a Scottish actor pops up in something doing an American accent, because I end up spending half the time just sort of paying attention. I will say, between the two Scottish actors I've seen do American accents in the past 24 hours, Kelly MacDonald on Lanterns did a better job, although I was still paying attention to it and going like, oh, is she got this, like it's a bit generic American. You can tell it's not like she's putting on like a typical American accent as opposed to a Nebraska accent. Not that I know what a Nebraska accent sounds like, but I can tell that it's the generic American accent.
Yeah, it's just Midwest. That's perfectly fair. That's so weird. I also watched Lanterns in the same time period. We're just watching all the same stuff here.
Well, it came out like a day and a half ago.
I know, but I wasn't intending on watching it immediately.
Okay. Did you like it?
I did. I did.
Yeah.
I will not be doing reviews of it with you. I do not have the time for that, but by all means.
That's all right. I've already reviewed it. You're fine.
Cool.
I already did that.
All right.
So, yeah. So back to Catwoman and Black Mask in this movie.
Well, I guess before we get too deep into it, I just want to really quickly throw the kids a bone of like what they're up to.
Sure.
The son, we get the idea that he's hanging out with his friends. He's got a bow and arrow as a thing. Also, a throwaway mention that he's smoking cigarettes, and like the dad notices. It's just like, hey, cut it out, kid.
It's much like his drinking. It's like it's mentioned once, but never actually comes up or matters for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, that was one I kept waiting for as well. But yeah, he's got his friends he's hanging out with, and the friends are basically just talking about a prior event where he accidentally led to this kid getting his arm broken, and then that kid's older brother has been stalking the neighborhood, and he's going to kick his ass when he comes across him.
Yeah, well, there's two things with him. One is that. The other one is that there's a new girl moved in with her family in the street, named, we find out later her name's Jeanette. It doesn't really matter up front. But there's a little scene where like they're all looking through the fence and seeing how cute she is, and like they're talking about, oh, she's went to private school. I wonder what that's like. Blah blah blah. But it's like, oh, this is the boyhood crush. Okay, we're doing some of that 80s magic as well.
Now, the sister Audrey, she is talking about how they're graduating soon and where they want to go, and she's very into science. She's talking about Carl Sagan, which is how we get the explanation for what the hell happened to Oak Street later on in the movie. But she's talking about all that stuff. And then she's talking to who I assume is a classmate or a friend of hers. And then the classmate's boyfriend comes up and says, hey, I was looking all over for you, da-da-da. And they're doing a water balloon toss. She's so distracted, she gets water ballooned in the face. I think maybe I'm just a bit too context savvy here. This was an extremely clear telegraph as to where we were going with this character. I felt like I was like, yep, all right, she's gay. Got it. Moving on.
I mean, I agree with you, but I also don't feel like we go there with it either, because it doesn't really become much. Like, there's like a slight implication that once Jeanette comes into the movie, more in the back half, that Jeanette actually has way more of a connection with her than the little brother, implying that maybe they'll get together down the line. But it's never like explicitly said. It's really just, a couple of hugs. Like, she seems to connect with her a little bit more. That's it.
Yeah. End of the movie, you get like hand holding between the two as well. But they're in a relationship.
But there's never like a coming out the closet scene. There's never a kiss or anything like that. There's it's very just like a little subtle thing there to appreciate if you want, and then so that's pretty much that. They've got a shitty neighbor who's always complaining about the dog barking. This is Mel, played by PJ Byrne. And Anne Hathaway has got no time for his bullshit because he threatens to shoot their dog, and she's like, if you touch my dog, I'll burn your house down. Which, honestly, I found very likable. I actually was like, okay, Anne Hathaway is going to be a badass in this movie. I'm there for it.
Absolutely. She even frames it as a thing of like, look, my husband's a nice guy. We all know my husband's a nice guy. I am not. I will burn your house down. And I just like the dual nature of that, of getting, okay, she's the one who wears the pants in the relationship. Like, he's out trying to smooth things over, and she's the one who's going to, like, make things clear.
It nearly fits into that dynamic we already talked about, where he, like, doesn't want to cause conflict. He doesn't want to have the argument or debate about the problem. He wants to just try and, walk around it tiptoeing as gently as he can, where she's like, no, I'm taking this head on. And it's almost like that's almost manifested over, I'm going to get my frustration out on this dickhead neighbor. I'm going to yell at him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Then during the party, at some point, the little block party, she goes to her neighbor's house because the neighbor is a prior editor of like books, and Anne Hathaway has a manuscript that she's getting looked over. Which
is totally a fictional story about a woman who wants to leave her family that is in no way based on her own life.
Yes, good thing nobody in the family ever gets to read that book. That would be absolutely devastating.
Narrator, they do.
Michael went and did some other stuff after that. Anyway,
yes.
Well, the only other thing from that scene is that she's then led out to the backyard, and the neighbor has a plant that just sprung up.
Yeah, mysterious
plant. No idea
plant.
what it is.
Yes. Yep. And when she takes a photo of it to the library, the librarian who happens to know her shit is like, hey, that looks like this thing. And she's like, oh, good eye. And she's like, no, it can't be that, though. It's like, why? Because it's been extinct for 200 million years. That doesn't make sense.
I appreciate, like, this. It almost would feel too convenient if it wasn't for the fact that this was, like, harping on so many 80s tropes where it's like, yeah, no, the librarian just knows everything. You don't have to worry about it.
I was okay with that, because it's like, okay, she knows this, she knows a little bit of history and stuff, but it's not like, because there's a moment in the movie actually where I thought they were going to do a thing where they weren't going to explain exactly why everything happens, but I thought they were going to find maybe like that in one house someone had been doing experiments or something, and that's what created the wormhole bubbles that are happening. And they never actually go there. I just thought they were going there because, like, you know, at one point when they see a shiny light in a house and they go towards it, I thought, oh, we're going to see like the hints of why this all happened, and they never do that. They never do it.
Every once in a while they'll do that split depth of field shot as well, where like a character's in the background and the foreground will be like a newspaper clipping or something like that. And I thought that like the whole explanation as to why it's happening was buried in the newspaper clippings. Like if you freeze frame and really read into it, you could be like, oh, okay, here's the whole story that's spread out. I don't think so. I think it's probably just what the movie presents by the end of like, you know, earthquakes? Turns out that can happen to the space-time continuum.
Pretty much. Natural phenomena, basically, is how it's put forth. So, which is fine. It doesn't need to be over-explained. No. That's not the important part of the movie.
No, not at all.
So, yeah. Shiny big light in the sky happens, cuts out the power, which obviously, because, the street's not connected to the power grid anymore, obviously.
Oh, well, there is the first night of the light happens, and then they go out the next morning, and Mel, the neighbor, has a giant pile of shit in his yard.
Well, to quote Jurassic Park, that's one big giant pile of shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. It felt intentional, honestly.
and they all think it's quite funny, because he's like, oh, your kids did a prank on me. This is outrageous. I want something done about this. And to be fair, Ewan McGregor's like, I don't think my kids did this. I don't know where they'd get all this from, but, you know, we'll help you clean it up. We'll be nice about it.
Yeah, whatever. We'll do it tomorrow, because I think we're going to be a little bit busy tonight.
Yeah, now you're right. There's a couple nights, and then this, when it actually happens, though, he's just got in from doing pizza deliveries. Luckily, otherwise he wouldn't have been with the family. And this light happens, power goes out, which makes sense, and they don't realize this till the next morning. But also, there's no running water because, again, their neighborhood's no longer connected to the water supply. That also makes sense. So. And they also, when they wake up, because they get scared, obviously, whenever all this happens, and the kids are kind of freaking out, and there's some yelling outside and whatnot. They all sleep in the living room to sort of feel safer with each other. And when they get up, I appreciated the little things like, oh, why is it so hot? Because, the climate's much hotter in this time period. So they're like, why is this? So, I mean, I know it was summer before, but Jesus, this is really warm.
There were tons of little things that they were hinting to. The one that they specifically draw attention to is it was pouring down rain, and then as soon as the bright lights happened, it just wasn't anymore.
Yes.
And they were like, that's weird. It must have been just like a little flash flood thing, whatever. And then the other one of it is as soon as it happens, all of a sudden everyone's ears pop, because the atmosphere is so much heavier at this point that it just immediately is like, oh God, what the hell happened there?
Yeah, I forgot about the ears popping. Yeah, that's a good little touch, actually. And obviously
but they do specifically draw a point to say the power went out at exactly 11:05 p.m.
Yes, which may become relevant at the end of the movie. So it's like, okay, right, we've set this up. I like all these little atmospheric things. I like that, when they get up and like they go outside in the morning, there's just these little things like what looks like a burst pipe is actually just like a natural, like hot spring of water gushing up. Yeah, it's a geyser coming up through the ground. I like that you can just sort of look out the back garden and see, wait, that's a very tropical looking forest that's all of a sudden at the edge of the garden. Very strange, things like that.
And that's, I think it's Anne Hathaway who first stumbles into like the divide. Like the jungle is all of a sudden right here. And I do really like how it is a hard cut. It is not this gradual transition. Like there's a tree trunk that's just sliced in half. Yeah,
and later on we see a bus that's been sliced in half. Joe, what it is, it's this the bubble from the Terminator. Like, when they appear from the future, and they've got the bubble that cuts into the ground, and if there's like a truck there, it'll cut out the corner of the truck. It's that, but just much bigger. So, when they eventually try and leave, once they realize a bunch of shit's happening, and they're scared that they've had at least one dinosaur attack by that point, they try and drive out of the neighborhood, and like, oh, we get to the edge of this one, oh, there's all of a sudden like a swamp here, well, we can't go that way, we'll go down this street. Oh, it just cuts off at the edge of the world into like a giant pit where like there's a big drop off.
I like that part as well, as the idea that, this area that they're on as it was now, not hundreds of millions of years ago, is flat. It's, for relative purposes, it's entirely flat. Whereas millions of years ago, it was on like a mountainous incline. So as they get to the one edge of the neighborhood, it's like a 300-foot vertical drop, and you could just see a brontosaurus like looking up from the bottom.
Yeah, I like the setting of this, like the premise of it, and just how much the environment is affected by it. And because obviously the natural comparisons to Jurassic Park are going to come up, but I love that it's the complete opposite of that movie, in the sense that Jurassic Park is dinosaurs in present day. This movie is, no, neighborhood goes back to prehistoric times, and we have to deal with that. So it just feels fresh and different on that front, aside from any of the actual dinosaur action, which, they do their own little things with to try and keep it fresh and different. You can sort of tell a lot of thought went into, okay, what sort of set pieces can we do with different sizes of dinosaur, or with a giant ass snake thing, which I don't even know if that's based on a real thing. It feels so big that I can't believe it even existed, but
I'd have to assume it was, but I can't believe it can move like it can. Like, that feels like water only,
Yeah, but but made for a fun ass sequence, so I'm not going to do any complaining.
I love the implication because, like, it shows up pretty early, all things considered, into the movie, and it just starts like
brief
slowly,
glimpse.
Brief glimpse, and then we don't get the attack scene until so much later. I just like the implication it's been constantly stalking the family the whole time, just waiting to catch up with it.
Because it's not until after Greg's death that the steak sequence happens.
Yep.
Because they kind of they swap a husband for a new daughter, basically. Around that time.
Sorry, party of 4 only. We can't fit in a 5th at any given point here. I do like also at the beginning how, because of the way it's set up, because it is like, Jurassic or Triassic all around it, and then the neighborhood's just dropped in the middle, it does take time for the dinosaurs to like creep in. Like, it isn't a thing where all of a sudden, oh, now there are dinosaurs on the street. Like, they have to walk in from the previous environment. So that's why that first night, totally fine. Like, no problems whatsoever. But as morning progresses and people start driving around the neighborhood, you start seeing more and more people freaking out.
Yeah, there's a nice little touch, actually, where the parents go to check on, like, because, Anne Hathaway wants to check on the old lady that she goes to visit her friend. McGregor is going to like maybe see if he can talk to someone else. He's looking for the dog. That's what it was. Yeah. So they go out and like, hey, kids, stay inside until we get back. Blah blah. So the daughter's like, we see that one of her like sort of recurring things is she goes out of her window and sits on like the sort of the lower part of the roof outside of her window that's there.
The awning.
Yeah. Oh, very good. I wouldn't have known the word for that, but yes, the awning. And she's just sort of sitting there, and she's not really paying attention after a point, but she sort of sees like one of the neighbour across the street gets in his car just for work. He's like, "Oh, lad, it's Monday. I'm off to work. Here I go." And then she's not paying attention later on, but we see the camera just sort of lingers there after she leaves, and you just see his car screech back in, and he runs back in the house, because clearly he's discovered what we're going to see later about the edge of the neighborhood. So it's just this fun way of like teasing that before we actually get to it. You know, it's classic, you know, building up suspense, horror, thriller stuff. Yeah.
And I think it's both Greg and Anne Hathaway, I'm blanking on her name, Denise. They both come across velociraptors as far as I can remember. Maybe Ewan McGregor had a different type.
I'm thinking.
I know that Denise had a velociraptor because that's what attacked the old woman. Like, that was the problem that they had to outrun. But I think he might have had something else. Either way, what we see from the kid's side of things is she sees a cat walking by and then hears it just screeching out in pain or fear or whatever else. And then as she peers around the corner of the house, she sees something absolutely massive moving in the woods in their backyard. Yeah, the daughter, she sees that.
Yeah, because he kind of stumbles into, because he ends up like hiding behind like a hedge as like the dinosaur, which may be a velociraptor, but it's, you know, it's about that height anyway, just to give you a sense of the size. Is sort of stalking through the garden, and he's just kind of watching in awe of like, oh shit, this isn't good. Whereas Anne Hathaway finds the old lady dead, you know, clearly been bitten in the neck or whatever, and she's got a shotgun lying next to her. She clearly tried to fight it off. And this is kind of getting what you were at earlier, is that every time they encounter one of these characters that they set up earlier, which one is good because almost everyone they set up does have some kind of payoff. Again, maybe not everyone. You know, the kids, like the son's friends, we never see them again. But there is a payoff to the bully thing. We'll get to that later.
Right. That's the thing. Is like the friends, sure, we don't get anything for it, but the bully was so much more depth than I would have expected.
Yeah. So she picks up the shotgun, of course, and like fires it off, and they both end up kind of trying to running around and whatnot.
Yeah. Basically just trying to get home, and that's where we see like the velociraptors are starting to pick people off the streets, and you get like that family in the car that was seeing the Flintstones.
Yeah, and the one that really got me though, that said, "Oh, this movie's got a bit of bite to it," no pun intended, is when it's like chasing after, I think it's Ewan McGregor it's chasing after, and when he turns, you just see it like jump, and this woman's walked out on her porch, and it just the raptor just jumps up and just bites off like over her head, and I'm like, oh, that actually felt quite brutal. And the movie's only PG-13. It's not like it's going like, you know, super hard, but it's going about as hard as it probably can given its age rating.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think they were one soft curse away from hitting an R. I think they were right up on the level of where they could have been.
Well, they did have their one F-bomb, and I knew it was coming because in the BBFC screen that always comes up before movies in the UK, it always tells you why it's got a rating. So in this case it said, threat, injury, suspense, some, you know, horror-esque stuff. And then it always says for a 12A, which is the equivalent of a PG-13, it says one instance of strong language, which means the one F-bomb. And I'm like, oh, I'm waiting for it. And it ended up being right at the very end. And it is a funny F-bomb, actually. The context of it's quite good. But
they knew exactly where to put it there. But no, I did that lady who came out on the porch, it's after Anne Hathaway fires off a shotgun shot, and she's like, what's going on? I heard a gunshot. What are you...
Yeah, which is funny because actually the car with the family is just after that, a little bit up the street, and I was thinking, didn't any of them hear this gunshot? Like, why are they not a little bit concerned?
I'd imagine that on it pretty much, because it's, as much as we say end of Oak Street, it is a large circle. There is like the neighborhood is basically all brought in, and it is a lot of like distant screaming for that first section there. You just hear like a lot of stuff going on, which almost makes it more disquieting as we move on with the movie, where I feel like the violence picks up, like a background violence picks up of seeing things being attacked or people being eaten, but then it drops back off again, and you're thinking, oh, we've run out of people.
Yeah, most
They're
of them
all
are
just
dead
now.
Yeah, because you get a big clear shot of the entire circle once they did try and drive off the edge, which happens after they get back to the house. Like, shit, we have to get out of here right now. And that's when they try and leave. Obviously doesn't work because, hey, there's an edge to this like civilization that we have come accustomed to.
The flat earthers were right. Jesus Christ.
And when they get back to the house, it's like, okay, we're boarded up all the windows, we're doing all the typical stuff. And they do, once they've done that, they sit down and have the conversation where it's like, okay, what's going on? And the daughter's like, well, wormhole, I think. Maybe.
Carl Sagan said something about wormhole. We don't have a paper and a piece of pencil, but just imagine that.
Yeah. Well, I like that it's like, okay, it gets to a point where, based on what she knows, she's able to come up with, okay, we've clearly traveled back in time based on the dinosaurs. And the mum's like, oh, I saw that plant that was like 2 million or 200 million years old. Okay, that backs that up. But it's like, okay, so what now then? I also like the simple thing of, oh, we have to drink this milk before it goes bad. And the daughter's like, is this the last time I'm ever going to have milk? Because we're not going to just go get more milk. Cows don't even exist yet.
I was going to say, I can't remember if I was just thinking it or if it actually happened in the movie, that there's like a brief little thing of like, do dinosaurs have milk?
I think the son says that. Yeah, I think the son asked that question. But this just gets into like Anne Hathaway's immediately get into survival mode where she's like, okay, clearly we have to like plan for the worst here and our kids are going to grow up here. We need to like leave. We have to figure out where we can get food and safety and shelter and things like that. And the husband's like, I'm sure we'll end up going back. You know, it'll be fine.
Look, this happened randomly. You said yourself that this random ass plant showed up. What's to say another big ass bubble doesn't teleport us all back home? I think we just wait for that to happen.
Yeah. So bit of a disagreement there on that front. And there's some more teases. I think it's like later that first night, like after the night after they've teleported back, where there's like they're all kind of trying to be quiet and stay together and whatnot. And they hear like it's almost like an earthquake's happening, but it's actually just like a giant dinosaur's walking right outside the house, and you just see like through the window because there's not a lot of light, obviously. Just like the fur, just kind of moving past. And later on, we get to see what those dinosaurs are in spectacular fashion. But I don't know if that's maybe a brontosaurus or a similar type thing, but it's a long neck.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I would assume. Look, I'm going to call everything that's shaped like that either brontosaurus or brachiosaurus. It's one of the two.
Yes, but more furry than maybe you're typically used to seeing. So, I mean, all this setup is good. Parents have their arguments and fights about what to do. And I don't know if it's that night where they have to. It probably is because there's not a lot of nights once they've went back in time. But they have the big argument about the script that she wrote and all that. Yeah,
because every house in the 70s is built with wood paneling. They tear out all the wood paneling and they board up the windows, board up the walls, because, they outrace some velociraptors to get here, and they're like, we're not letting that happen again, and also other people might try to get in as people get more desperate. They say they're going to hold up in the basement, which ends up being flooded, and that's where Anne Hathaway was writing her book, and she gets super upset over the fact that that's gone, and I think it's all that tension combined that leads into the big divorce argument.
Yeah. Where he's like, oh, you want to leave us, you want to abandon everyone. Not just me either, the kids too. Because I read your manuscript. Like, you're ready to leave. And she's like, oh, it's not me, it's a story. And he's calling bullshit in that. He's like, look, this read exactly like her life with a few name changes. I'm not buying this for a second. And, they're getting quite heated. And the kids are obviously
hearing all this. Her name was Danish. What kind of name is Danish?
And Grog and Danish.
Yes.
Yes.
It's pretty. You just didn't. The kids were still named Audrey and Brian. You didn't even bother changing those.
So it's like, okay, right, we've gotten to this point, and obviously, they have some tender moments in the heat of battle, as it were, before he dies. That sort of tend that they're finding their spark because they're working together. They care about the fact that the kids are in trouble because but ultimately, the whole time all this is going on, Brian is worried that Starbuck has disappeared, right? He's like, where's the dog? Where's the dog? And it's going to be a thing where he's going to do something stupid to try and get his dog back, which is going to put everyone in jeopardy.
It's not even stupid in the normal sense. The dog disappeared the night that they all teleported back. It broke off its leash, and they're just like, okay, look, there are dinosaurs out there. We probably just have to accept the fact that that's dinosaur food now. However, as the parents are arguing in the background, he looks out and sees Starbuck in the backyard, who barks once and then starts getting chased by some type of, probably a velociraptor. And Brian's like, I gotta go get my dog. So he jumps out the window. Audrey sees this, follows him out the window, and now both kids are separated from the parents.
And of course, once the parents realize, they get worried and go out looking for them. So the kids are actually on their own because Audrey's she's trying to catch up with Brian. And it's actually when he's looking, and this is one of the places where we get a glimpse of that big snake creature. But the end of Brian's thing here is that he actually gets attacked by this bully, or the older brother of this other kid, and he's beating the shit out of him, whilst the little brother's like trying to like, dude, this doesn't matter. There's dinosaurs. Let it go.
It's like, oh, he broke your arm, though. He's like, none of that matters now. I just want to find mom and dad.
And then there is like a surprising thing that happens, because I was expecting maybe Jeanette would swoop in, or the sister's going to show up and swoop in, or something. I was
expecting Jeanette, because we can set that up, or he gets immediately eaten by something.
Yes.
As the like immediate karmic justice.
And instead, he kind of just like stops and then has like a bit of a breakdown and goes, oh God, what am I doing? I'm so sorry. We're all going to die. What am I doing? This doesn't matter. And then him and his brother just leave the movie and presumably get eaten.
I want to see how did we get here? I want to see what happened to them to get them up to this point, because I'm enthralled by that reaction there.
I have to assume that they weren't looking for Brian, but they happened to just notice him when they were looking for their parents, maybe. And, you know, the older brother said, oh, I can do something about him. I can beat him up and feel like I'm in charge.
But that's what I'm saying. There's a whole extra, like, multi-layered story in there of, like, the brother who's just trying to, like, get by, and then the other one who's trying to feel like he's in some sort of control as they're looking for their parent. It's a whole nother movie. I want to see that movie.
Well, I mean, it kind of feeds into this idea of like, you hear the things in the distance. So we get these hints of everyone else who lives in this neighborhood, but we don't see all of it, right? We just get whatever parts happen to intersect with our main characters. We see that part, but we don't see the rest of it. And it just makes it all feel more fleshed out. So that's just one of the better examples of that. So, so the sister does show up and find him after he's been beaten up a bit and tries to help him while the parents are looking for the kids.
I mean, we can wrap the kid stuff up pretty quick, because they bump into Jeanette, who's being chased by a velociraptor at this point. She tries batting it away, and God bless Brian, he's gonna keep trying to make this bow and arrow thing work, and he's never gonna land it. Not a single time in this movie does it ever work out for him, up until the big one.
Well, he does successfully hit the giant ass snake, which is like, you know, a mile
3
long.
feet ahead of him.
Yeah.
3 feet away, a mile long, and it's the dumbest thing he does in the movie. However, we see, I think it's Audrey comes in with a knife, stabs the velociraptor enough that it leaves Jeanette alone, and that's where they're like, hey, we got to get somewhere, patch you up or whatever, and they just hold up in a house. And we get Brian trying to, like, get the spark going of like, so what's like a private school, whatever. And Jeanette's giving him nothing while Audrey's patching her up, and they're like having a moment.
Yes.
And Brian's just left sitting in the back like, I'm not sure this is my story anymore. I don't think I have anything to do here.
Yeah. That's when they get back to the house or wherever they end up by the time they're getting patched up. The parents are driving down the street, and there's all these like turtle-like type creatures, prehistoric turtles, and they drive around them. But when they're trying to drive around them, I think that's when the Spinosaurus makes his debut, and we get that attack in the car, which is a good bit of fun. They end up like getting rammed into the front of a house, so they have to try and sneak through the car window to get out into the house and so on.
Yeah, which does set the house on fire, which domino effects. The whole neighborhood by the third act is going up in flames because of that instance.
Yeah. Because I think it's like right next to the exterior maybe, so the forest catches a little bit on fire, so it becomes a forest fire effectively that's sort of spreading into the rest of the neighborhood. So it's like, oh shit, we've got like a ticking time clock now of like survival. That's fun.
But also just the visual of it, of like you can see in the distance this billowing cloud of smoke coming up and these lights from beneath.
Especially since there's no other lights because there's no electricity, so it really pops and sticks out. So yeah, I mean, they run from the Spinosaurus, they kind of save each other a little bit. There's a whole moment where they're like hiding in another car and just sort of holding each other, and it's like, oh, they're embracing. As much as it's like a life or death situation, it feels like this is the first time they've embraced like this, and it feels like they're working together in a way that they've not the whole movie. So maybe they're finding a little bit their own spark again, in the middle of actually trying to save their kids. As dangerous as it all is, and the weird like payoff to this the next day when they're still looking, because it ends up in the next morning, right, and they're still looking for the kids because the kids have holed up in a house, they're having their little bandage moment and whatnot, because I think it's Jeanette's house they're in, and the parents are looking for them, and they come across the furry long necks having sex.
Sorry, just to pivot that. Yeah, they find the kids, and then they say, all right, we got to get home, but it's dangerous, so we're going to scout ahead. So they just put the kids back in the house, and then
did they find the kids first before they find the dinosaurs? Okay, I guess they did. Right.
And they say, hey, this is Jeanette. Her parents are dead. And it's like, all right, come with us.
Yeah. Part of me was, is there going to be tension here? Because, we can't look after the other kid. You have to be on your own. Sorry, Jeanette.
Yeah, just like a Walking Dead moment, just like it's us or them.
And I'm just like, Audrey's like, no, but she's my future wife. You can't abandon her.
You're my future wife. Hi, Jeanette.
But yeah, they find the furry dinosaurs having sex, and like Anne Hathaway starts laughing, and he's like, what part of this is funny? He's like, come on, like it's kind of funny. And she's like, let's get a photo. Stand in front of the dinosaurs. So, and this is almost like the signal that he's going to die, because there's going to be a photo of him looking happy with dinosaurs having sex in the background, which is actually one of the things that I appreciate about this. Is not only do we see them have sex, later on when they're traveling through a part of the neighborhood, there's just like a brontosaurus like shitting, like, and you just see the shit coming out of it, and I'm like, we never saw it actively shit in Jurassic Park. They're bringing new things to the table. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's something that I did really like about like the Spinosaurus chase and the Velociraptors and all that sort of stuff. It always felt like they were being chased by animals and not hyper intelligent monsters, you know, that are like, they figured out how to work the doorknobs or whatever. Like, no, these are just normal animals that are just looking for food. If it's too much of a hassle to try to get the food, they're gonna look elsewhere.
Yeah. And before we move too far, the other thing that happened the night before with the parents, because it's important for the plot, is they find a time bubble, because they see the light shining in the window or whatever. They go and investigate it, and it's a bubble, and he sticks his sledgehammer in a little bit and pulls it back out and make sure it's okay, it doesn't disintegrate or anything like that. And it's like, hey, that looks like it might take us back to present day. Although part of me was thinking, well, what if the time jumps are random? Though, what if you end up... Because I thought, maybe they're going to jump in this later on and they're going to end up in like 2882 or something like that.
I was expecting the 2001 Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Of like, all of a sudden now there's Abraham Lincoln sitting up there.
But like, okay, maybe we can jump back through here. We have to go find the kids, because this is before they've even gotten close to finding the kids. And the time bubble disappears.
Although Ewan McGregor does specifically say, you go through now.
That's true. There's
you hop in, I'll find the kids, you just need to be safe.
There's a character moment here, and it's a pretty important character moment, and this sort of leads also into them kind of, not fixing their marriage, but like, this is like a moment of bonding where he's like, hey, you go, you get back to safety, and I'll go find the kids. But effectively giving her the chance to abandon the family, like she kind of had a fantasy of doing with her book, and she decides not to take it, and then like 5 seconds later the bubble disappears. And it's like, okay, the chance is gone, but she made the choice to stay with the family, which is like a very likable character moment of like, I'm not going to just abandon you and go running for the hills. Like, let's go find the kids.
I'd somewhere in there is the moment like where they're hiding in the car as the stampede's going by, and you just get the feeling of like, okay, we can work this out. Everything is able to be fixed. Like, once we're done with the dinosaur thing, we can move forward with our relationship.
Yeah, so, but it sets up the idea, importantly, that these bubbles will randomly pop up. And it makes sense, because everything in the start of the movie also indicated this, with the plant appearing on its own, like these little bubbles of just one thing coming from the past. So it's like, okay, if we see another one of these bubbles, we jump in it, and that gets us back to present day. That's the plan, right?
Or at the very least, out of this hell.
Yes. Maybe we'll end up in 1932, but that's better than prehistoric times at the very least.
1885?
Only one man can help them now.
Yes.
There you go. So, yeah, they see the dinosaurs have sex. I'm trying... Is there anything important that happens before they're out walking and they get the big dinosaur attack?
They encounter Jeanette. Just one other thing that we skipped over on the previous night is they watch Mel being torn apart by pterosaurs on his roof.
Yes. He's got like a little revolver and he's trying to shoot them. He's like, "This is my house, you sons of bitches," and they just pick away at him because, of course, he's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's doing. No, honestly, they're hiking behind the houses, staying off the main road, and then the Allosaurus shows up. Yeah, but they have the kids by this point. They've went and got the kids. So they're talking, they're doing whatever, and you see the head of the dinosaur pop behind the roof, just briefly, and then it comes around, and it's just, we see it sneaking up on them from the back. It's coming up from the distance, and it's like, oh, it's getting closer.
You're sitting there yelling at the screen, like, turn around, you dumb bastards.
The sound mix is like, oh, you can start to hear the footsteps quietly. And it's getting louder, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's getting close. And then they finally notice it, of course, and we get the whole chase sequence that leads to Greg's death, which we already kind of went over at the start of the spoiler section. But it's a notable moment because, you know, she's just started patching things up with them, even though... And I like that they've never had a conversation. They don't have a conversation where they say, hey, we're starting to think we're going to be okay now.
Right.
We just see the start of it happen. Then he saves her and dies for his troubles. And she's just also like, because, you know, they both just saved the kids, so they both kind of were doing heroic things. He tried to save her. It worked. He knocked out a dinosaur with a sledgehammer, but then got eaten for it. So that's the end.
I mean, it's literally the most badass thing that happens in this movie. So
for sure,
I'm all right with it.
For sure. Just a well-timed swing to the face. That's all it was. Because it's getting ready to chomp, and he just swings the sledgehammer, and I'm like, turns out the sledgehammer was an effective weapon to bring up. Because, like, one of the kids, I think, has got, like, a little flip knife, and I'm like, what's that going to do? That's nothing.
No. That was Audrey. She stabbed that into the Velociraptor, and then it ran away with it inside of her.
Yeah. Inside the Velociraptor.
Yes.
You said inside of her.
What did I say? Oh, did I? Sorry.
Yeah. And this is not Jurassic Park, so all the dinosaurs aren't female in this time.
Yeah, well, then I had a 50-50 shot. There you go.
I mean, no one's went out and checked under the skirts at the very least to find out.
I can tell you the genders of at least 2 dinosaurs.
That's true. That's true. There is one scene where it's pretty notable. That one must be one must be. Hey, could it be gay dinosaur sex? You have no way of knowing they're both not male. All right,
fine. I know at least one dinosaur sex then, because the one on top has to be a boy.
Oh dear. So yes, they retreat back to the house.
Retreat being a very strong word for stumble there in a state of shock and anger at each other. Yes.
And now they've got, so she's got a new daughter to take care of in Jeanette, and the husband's gone. So we get everyone being kind of dour in the house, and this is when we get the big snake creeping in the window in the background and going past like everyone without them noticing it as it snakes its way down the stairs, around the kitchen counter till it's eventually about to get Anne Hathaway. And you said earlier, the kid, like, you know, it's kind of stupid that he hits the snake with the arrow, but it does save his mum's life because she's about to get got.
No, look, from the viewpoint of I'm protecting the family, he did the right thing. I don't think he was thinking that, but I think he did do it. From the viewpoint of self-preservation, he's an idiot.
Oh, yeah. Because this snake immediately backs up and crawls over itself. Because, again, this thing's so long that the trail is all throughout the house. And it goes back up over itself to get back up to his bedroom door where it tries to start bashing his way in. And he's just, like, holding the door shut. Be like, if I have, like a thing to critique and say, I don't know if I find this plausible. The idea that he's strong enough to even hold this door closed while this giant ass snake's
the door wasn't even. The door had giant crack marks in the middle of it. I'm like, nah, he should have been dead after 3.
Yeah. But yeah, Anne Hathaway gets to go all like super mum mode and grabs just a knife and just starts stabbing the shit out of the snake as much as humanly possible at the bottom of the stairs until it eventually is hurt enough that it pisses off.
I gotta say, like, I know it's PG-13 rated. And obviously, I think there's been a bit more leeway with PG-13 from like the high point that was we don't allow anything around the mid-2000s. I gotta say, between the shots of just the utter destruction and mayhem of the neighborhood, and then kind of peaking off with this moment of Anne Hathaway just repeatedly stabbing and blood gushing out of this thing.
Yeah.
I think I just got to like draw that line in my head of PG-13 is no longer what I associate with PG-13. I think we're out of that now.
Well, it's a simple distinction. If this was a human she was stabbing, instant R. But it's a CG snake. So you're allowed to stab it like this. Yeah. even though it feels very violent as she's just going to town on this snake, as she's screaming, "Get away from my son, you bitch."
Yeah, true. Or if as she's stabbing this giant snake, her boob pops out for a single frame.
Of course, yes, because that's how the MPA rates things, of course. Yeah. So, which is why they didn't have her boob pop out for a single frame.
I'm sure that was a very conscious decision. They were debating it for a while.
Yeah,
and
they
then
made a creative
decided,
choice. They said, "Anne, how do you feel about a nip slip during the snake stabbing scene?" And she's like, "Oh, I mean, would it add to the movie? Would it, add to the gravitas of the moment?"
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they were clearly going for something of this giant white phallic object being stabbed by the main female lead of the movie. It's saying something on multiple deep levels there.
I don't think I'd call this I think once something's so long, it's went beyond phallic, is my estimation. Okay?
All right. Well, agree to disagree. I think it grows more phallic the longer it gets.
Yes. This snake that's literally a mile long. Yes, that's phallic to you. Okay.
Absolutely.
Oh, dear. So, yeah, like the snake skedaddles. Yeah. It's like, fine, we got through that. Excellent. And our end goal of the movie is once they get outside, or maybe they're still inside when they notice it, but they see a light glimmering in a window up on the hill. It's like, hey, that's a time bubble. That's our way out of here. Let's get moving because it might disappear because they do that. So let's go. So we have to go across all these backyards. We have to get past these other dinosaurs that are snooping around. There's these like alligator style ones that are kind of crawling around, which end up being a big thing.
They're slow. They're not a threat unless you get enclosed. So I hope that doesn't happen at any given point.
Yeah, and the big thing is that when they get to the house, that this time bubble's up. But it's not in the house; it's like outside the window upstairs. So more on that in a minute. But this ends up being the librarian's house, the one that knew about the plant, and we just like see her in a bedroom with a shotgun, just like waiting, right? And I thought, oh god, is this going to be a thing where Anne Hathaway opens the door and she's going to instinctively just blast?
Yeah, you're waiting for it. Yeah. You're waiting for the Danny DeVito moment.
Instead, though, what actually ends up happening is that when they're getting cornered by these like crawling gator dinosaurs,
they don't get cornered first. They get up to the roof.
Okay, that happens
easily
first.
enough the first time.
All right. So they get up to the roof, and the time bubble does keep sort of like disappearing for a second, then coming back, right? And it's like it's back for like 5-10 seconds, then disappears. Yeah. It's like we have to time this. We have to jump in. And it's like, who's going to go first? And Jeanette ends up jumping into the time bubble. So she gets out. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting thing to have the side character do it first. So we don't really know where she went, if she made it or not.
We're keeping the core family together, but someone else was willing to make the sacrifice first.
Yes. And then it's like the son's like, I'm going to go first. I want to be next. And the mom's like, are you sure, honey? Are you sure? Do you want me to go first? And it's not like Anne Hathaway wants to run away. It's like, hey, in case this like splits me in half and it turns out to be a death trap, I'll jump first kind of thing. But he's like, no, I'll go first. And she's like, okay, son, off you go.
I will say they do watch multiple loops of it pass and they time it out. They're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then it flickers and they're like, okay, you got that long.
It turns out, though, that it's not consistent because when the kid jumps, it disappears and he just falls to the ground and breaks his leg. And this is hilarious. This made me laugh so much. This is so good. So.
Yeah.
It's like the movie's obviously kind of a fun family adventure, but it's okay being a little bit mean to them sometimes. Like it'll make them suffer a little bit for our enjoyment, and I'm happy about that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like it follows the kid the whole way down too. Like it's not a thing where like all of a sudden he cuts to the ground and it's like ow. Like no, you hear the thud. He hit it hard. Yeah. And as he does so, up on the roof, there's a whole bunch of pterosaurs that are like, sweet, meat. Let's go, boys.
Yeah, so they kind of like fight them off as best they can. They get down to get him so they can limp him up the stairs.
Starbucks shows back up.
Starbucks shows up to help save him. Yeah, big heroic moment for the dog.
Despite the fact that he caused literally all of this, but whatever.
But yeah, as they're going up the stairs, though, these gator-like dinosaurs are starting to like infest the house. So there's like one in front, there's one off to the side. They're able to injure one with like one of their weapons, but that's it. Like there's like 5 of them, and they're so screwed. And because they've set it up, okay, the way out of this is going to be the librarian. The librarian's going to have the hero moment. And sure enough, the shots frame perfectly, so the door opens, and this old librarian comes out and starts blasting. And she gets like attacked by a dinosaur very quickly, but she gets off a couple shots just enough to save the family. Yep. It's kind of a big hero moment. So
yeah, and they don't like. I love the fact of again. There's a whole story behind that. We get to see in another room who I'm assuming her husband is dead and being feasted on by a dinosaur. how she ended up in this other room with a shotgun trained at the door, whole story behind it. Never get to find out. Because the moment she gets attacked, they're like, we're not wasting the opportunity. And they just bolt back up to the roof again, leaving her to be killed.
Absolutely. So they get back up to the roof, of course, and yeah, they jump in the bubble all together, right? We're not going to make the same mistake where we go one by one. We're just going to all jump together. And when we come to where they're going, they sort of, luckily the bubble appears in the present, or the 1982, over a pool. So they all land in this pool, and the woman who lives in this house, the pool's behind, is like, what the hell? Why are you three in my pool? What are you doing?
They don't give her an inch of rope of like, oh, you have every right to be upset. They're like, where are we? What year is it? Are there any dinosaurs? And she's like, you're in Flowervale. It's 1982. And no, there aren't any dinosaurs. I'm calling the cops.
Yeah. So they get out of this lady's house, obviously, and they get out in the street.
And Jeanette showed up. She was there.
She came running out, and said, hugged, and they get out in the street, and they realize, oh, we're just outside the perimeter of where the big circle is, right? Like our neighborhood, right? We're kind of up in the hills, and they realize the time, right? They realize what day it is. Look at a newspaper or whatever, and it's like, oh, this is the day that we traveled back, and it's like 20 minutes or something before that's going to happen.
They can go stop the Libyans from getting to dock.
And Jeanette immediately just runs away to go save her family, and Anne Hathaway is like holding the kids back, saying there's not enough time. There's not enough time to evacuate. It's 20 minutes. There's nothing we can do.
Yeah.
But she gets an idea where she goes over to the public phone, which obviously was a lot more, around in 1982. Oh, yeah. All right. And she called, and I knew where this was going. She ordered pizza. She's ordered pizza so that Ewan McGregor is going to come. And part of me thought it's just to see him before he goes off to die. But of course, they all hug him.
Okay.
Right?
You thought they had to close the time loop?
I did. Well, that was the thing. So what happens here is he's up there with them. The big switcheroo with the bubble happens, right? So we see this circle of prehistoric land appear, and he's looking down, and this is the one F-bomb where he's like, is that an effing dinosaur? Which was quite funny because he doesn't know about all the things that have happened, and this family's been through hell.
Literally the whole family's like, yes, Dad, we have a lot to explain.
Yes. So I in this moment, I was like, okay, there's going to be a consequence of this. Because he's not there to go back in time with them, maybe the mum's going to fade away because things will happen differently. Or maybe
she had to sacrifice herself for the kids.
Or the kids will fade away, or there'll be a consequence for this. And then that didn't happen. It goes into a super happy ending, which we'll get to all the details in a minute. But I was like, is this like a not a plot hole, but this is a bit of a time travel faux pas, is that there's no consequence for this, because now the family that's went back without him, so how are they here? This is a bit of a paradox. However, this is intentional, because when you see the family gathering in a year later or 2 years later, whatever it is, there's two Jeanettes, which is clearly saying that Jeanette went and got her family out, including herself. So now there's just two Jeanettes. And I was like, oh, so they're just saying, no, paradox versions continue to exist. This is just the rules of this movie. This is how it works. But here's the rub on that. There is a very dark undertone to this, right? As happy and as sweet as this ending is, that everyone gets to be happy, they're living together. She's written a book about it called The End of Oak Street. They're doing news programs about how she's saved people because she phoned them.
She called her husband for the pizza, had him show up for the delivery, but then also called as many neighbors as she could remember the numbers to, and just told them, get the hell out of Dodge as fast as possible.
Yeah, honestly, the least believable thing about all that is that she was able to convince 3 different people to just run away in the middle of the night, right out of the blue. The librarian just believed her and left their house with her husband.
It was the librarian. There was Mel at the end. There was one other one, but I can't remember who it was.
It was the third one. It was someone else who helped them, because it was all people at some point.
It was the old lady. It was the
old lady. Yeah,
one.
That makes sense. Yeah.
She's the one who's fine.
Right.
I do especially like Mel's, though, because Mel's just we've had our differences, but she saved my life and all. And I just imagine that, on the phone, in order to convince him, with just being like, hey, I'm up on the edge of the hill and I've got a giant pile of shit I'm going to drop in your yard. You better come up here and try to stop me.
She phrased it like Kevin McAllister.
Exactly. Exactly like that.
Yeah. Also, she's not really responsible for the fire, but I do think it's kind of funny that his house presumably burned down towards the end of the movie, or in that vicinity, because the whole neighborhood's burning down.
I think she is. I mean, responsible is a strong word, but she was there when it was started.
Yeah. But anyway, the darker undertone to this is that the other version of her and the kids that are still going back in time are all probably dead. Because if you think about the sequence of events, without the husband being there, the husband isn't there to save Anne Hathaway from the dinosaur, assuming things even get to that same point at that far late in the game. Yeah. Which means that she's dead. He probably still gets killed later on because things play out differently. Like, they're probably just all dead and never come back. So it's kind of this darker thing where... And I'm not saying I blame Anne Hathaway's character for this. She just tried to save her husband the best she could in the moment. But when you stop and think about the fact that she's kind of doomed an alternate version of herself and her own kids to certain death, or at the very least being trapped in the past, that's pretty dark.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to think whether or not this is a loop that can be changed and we're just like not at the final version of it. Like, it keeps on being altered each time. Kind of Terminator-esque, where like in some version of the Terminator timeline, the Terminator had to go back and be successful, and that's why the Resistance would have sent back Kyle Reese. Like, there had to have been some version of the loop.
I disagree with that reading on Terminator. I think you're wrong about that, but that's
fine. Fair enough. There's either there's a loop setting or it's a branching timeline where every single time it's just branching off a new one. Because I feel like from what the movie presented to us, if Ewan McGregor wasn't there, they would have still woken up that night. They probably would have tried to been safe. Maybe they would have been worried about the dad. I don't think enough to go out and like look for him or anything. Although, no, his car wouldn't have been there. So yeah, he wouldn't have been there. I think that she still would have left in the morning to go check on the old neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
But the old neighbor wouldn't have been there, but the Velociraptor might still have been.
Yeah.
Because it didn't get to feed on her. So she might have died there, and then the kids would have just been screwed after that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, just they'd be dead.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's kind of dark when you think about it that way. And I think that is a little bit of like, oh, this is the director of It Follows, making sure there's a little undertone to everything here.
Oh, yeah.
Because honestly, because my first read of this, when the dad was just safe after the time bubble like moved the neighborhood again, is like, oh, this is a bit of a cop-out, because this feels like an easy win where, like, he there should be a consequence to this, but I'm like, oh no, there is when you think about it. It's just not apparent to them, because they get to live, like, they've let the previous versions of themselves die, so this version can keep on going. So, yeah, there's a little bit of a dark undertone to the ending, which I kind of like.
I also do like the little news program they do, because it cuts to 2 full years later, and they're just like, yeah, the government had to deal with this. Like, there were dinosaurs running around, because it wasn't just a thing where now there's a giant pit. Like, they got swapped. Dinosaurs showed up in our time for this one circle, and then they had to go out hunting these dinosaurs, basically. And we get whole new branches of, like, science and all this sort of stuff. And maybe this is just my modern cynicality, like, whatever. This fits for the 80s kind of feeling of it. But, like, the fact that she managed to turn this horrific event into something that she got absolutely wealthy off of, and, like, got her kid into Cornell and all this other stuff, feels just a little bit, like, cynical to me. But I think if you view it from the 80s perspective, like, yeah, no, that happened pretty often, all things considered. Like, they got the treasure and then good things happened,
Yeah, also it means that, probably her getting kind of rich from writing a book means that the money troubles of the dad losing his job are probably less impacted, and it's kind of like,
Oh, yeah.
But you can almost read it as like, oh, like it's okay if their roles kind of switched a little bit as far as the traditional like gender roles of a marriage go, kind of thing, in the old school sense. But
yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, by the time it hit the end, it's yes, you can read into it with those darker undertones, but it is definitively trying to be a feel-good ending. Like, everyone gets to live. It's a good time overall. It's not like we're supposed to be coming at this with like, but what about this horrifying alternate timeline that exists?
Yeah. It's I don't think you're meant to think about it too hard either, to be fair, but I do think there is that dark undertone of like, okay, the family that went back in time are all screwed. But it's also at the same time, though, I like, you know, you're saying, oh, is it a part of a bigger loop that we've not got around to yet? I don't think there's anything to suggest that, because, you know, they're not even
no.
getting to any of that stuff, you know?
No, it would be the final loop, because there's nothing else that can theoretically even change up to this point. But
yeah,
I'm just trying to say, like, if it's part of a loop structure, to be the final loop means that nobody can come back again. And that would imply they all died in that alternate timeline that was created without Ewan McGregor.
Yeah. Also, there is kind of an idea here that like Ewan McGregor didn't go through everything, so he didn't have the growth that he got.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. He's still very bitter about the book.
Yes. But there is a nice little sort of sweet irony to the idea that, you know, that she was kind of ashamed of the pizza sign but on the car, but him delivering pizzas is how she was able to save his life at the end. So
yeah, absolutely.
Also,
never forget, pizza saves lives.
Also, it would have been funny if he turned around and goes, well, you're going to pay me for the pizza? Like, I can't just go back to the store empty-handed here.
I would put it more of like, wait, Denise, you're the douchebag who orders a pizza 5 minutes before closing?
Oh, dear. But I do appreciate that when he got back the night the time trip happened, he had just arrived home, like, right before, so it kind of set up that, oh, yeah, he was just, like, so there was just enough time to, like, make him do one more job.
And he is absolutely, like, especially having lost his job, he is absolutely going to take that last one to do it. He's not going to be like, well, you know, I should get home to my family or whatever.
Yeah. It is funny, though, it does that movie thing where you never know what his, like, actual job was. Like, you never know what sort of, like, department he worked in, what type, like, was he an engineer, was he an accountant? Yep. Who knows?
He worked at the business.
He did business. He didn't get the big deal and settled for $1 million, so they fired him.
Yep. It happens to more Americans than you would think.
or masquerading as American, as the case may be.
True. It happens to more Scottish people being Nebraskans than you would think.
And then Nebraska?
I don't know. I feel like I saw a license plate at some point say Michigan, but I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know where it was meant to be. It's always a bit more trouble when it's set in summer, because it being sunny makes me immediately think, like, California. But I don't necessarily think it was California. I think it's just...
Wikipedia says Michigan. I don't know if they're pulling that from the license plate like I was, or if it was actually officially set at some point.
I mean, to be fair, if all the license plates say Michigan, it's a pretty safe bet to say.
Yeah. I don't think the set decorator's that incompetent.
Yeah, but I don't know the Michigan license plate logo off the top of my head to recognize it.
Oh, no, neither do I. I just read the word Michigan at some point.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, though. The California one's got a specific font that I instantly recognize, because you see it the most in movies. So I recognize that one.
Yep, that's fair.
So anyway, there you go. That's the end of Oak Street. By and large, a fun time. Not completely faultless by any stretch. I think it is very much a solid B movie and doesn't rise too much above that. But as a B movie, it's very good. Yeah.
No, I there was the Anne Hathaway kaiju movie that I'm blanking on the name of.
Colossal,
that's it. I think that this is kind of in that same vein of B movie, but this one was just so much more fun. It was so much more enjoyable the whole way through. I just got more of a kick out of this, and honestly, look, I don't mean to make any sort of insinuations here, but like tons of movies that we do on this show, I don't even consider trying to show my wife. She has just no interest at all in most of them. This one, I could see her actually enjoying. I think there is that level of fun to it where it kind of takes it out of the realm of like, oh, well, you got to be into sci-fi to like this. No, you just got to be into like a fun time to like this.
Yeah. I mean, I think Colossal had the better character story. Like it had more of a character arc and more of a kind of like, as much as I was saying this has a dark undertone from like a sci-fi perspective at the end, Colossal has a much darker like subtext, even becomes text at a certain point in that movie of what it's actually talking about. Whereas this is more about family surviving dinosaurs. Yeah, they put in a little bit of marital troubles to give them some structure and like things to work around, but that's not the primary goal here. The primary goal is we've traveled back in time. There's dinosaurs. We must survive and come together as a family. So, on that front, does a pretty good job. And like I said, felt very Joe Dante to me, at least in the setup. And its willingness to be a little bit mean to the characters sometimes, I appreciated. Without it ever going like aggressively, like unpleasant mean. Just like enough to be like, oh no, there's stakes here, because characters can die, they can get hurt, they can miss the bubble and break their leg, and that's quite funny. So there you go. That's End of Oak Street. All right, David, let's rate this out of 10. What are you giving End of Oak Street?
I'm feeling pretty much the same as I did coming into it. I was bouncing between like a 7.5 and an 8. And
exact same range. Exactly where I was thinking.
My only thing that, like, I was basically just waiting for the cooldown. Leaving the theater, I think I was probably at like an 8. I think I was thinking it was solid. It was pretty good. I do think the ending was a little bit of, I was unsure as to like, do I like the fact that there are just like no consequences and like everyone just gets to live and all that and whatever. But as I sit with it more, I'm okay with the ending. I think it works for what the rest of the movie was, of this B-movie fun time. That being said, I do think I cooled down a little bit, and I'm going to end up at a 7.5.
I think that's fair. I think, like, in the first, like, 15 minutes of the movie, I was like, oh, this feels like the start of, like, a 80s adventure. Joe Dante, you know, Richard Donner, bit of Spielberg, obviously. And I was into that. I got excited. The movie kind of lived up to what I wanted from it for the most part. But I also think, well, it's a good emulation of movies from that time period, and it's like scratching that itch in a way that's not been scratched in a while, which I really appreciate. I also don't think it's going to be as memorable as like the better examples of those movies. So I think I'm also landing on a 7.5. I think I'm hesitant to go into the 8 because that's where I'm saying it is a great movie. And I think that's maybe just a little bit overreaching. I think it's a very good B movie. I'm happy it exists. I'll be happy to buy it and own it. When the time comes, it's going to have, you know, a nice easy rewatch value, I think. But yeah, 7.5. Good time. Happy it exists. I'm happy that a movie like this can come out. It's a shame that it's doing very poorly because it'll just scare Hollywood off doing original ideas more and more, which sucks, but here it is.
I swear to God, Hollywood looks at the release schedule and they're saying, like, here's something we're not sure is going to do well or not, so we're going to put it on this week where it's absolutely going to get trashed. And it's like, well, why are you... give it a chance, please.
Yeah. It's also a thing, though, like, where do they put it then? Because there's a lot of the year spoken for when it comes to big things. Finding that perfect slot is difficult with the competition, you know?
No, absolutely. And look, there are some movies where, like, I go to the theater, I get trailers out the ass for, like, 6 months. Like, I know everything about the movie before I even think about going to see it. I don't think I ever saw anything for End of Oak Street. I don't think it was given quite as much of a push as maybe it should have been. It's
kind of interesting, actually, that 2025 was a really, really strong year for Warner Brothers. Like, they had hit after hit, but horror movies that were making hundreds of millions of dollars. Superman was a hit. This year's the complete opposite. Like, Supergirl bombed. This is barely doing anything. A couple other things they've put out have not really done much. I'm sure Dune Part 3 will do well because, you know, those have been doing well, but it's definitely been like a very different story for them this year versus last. It's just interesting.
Well, that being said, I mean, Dune, as a not to get too much into the weeds of it, but like Dune as a franchise, once it hits the fourth book, like the sort of stuff that it like we're starting to do in these series, that's when it starts getting weird. Like, well, yeah, but really weird.
But they're not going past that though. They're just saying this is the end of the trilogy.
Oh, no, absolutely. But I'm wondering how weird they get with this one, and if, like, word of mouth is going to be like, it crossed the line. It's no longer just riding sandworms. It's doing some weird stuff now.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not super, like, you know, I'm
Neither of us were that big on Dune.
Yeah, I'm not that big on Dune Part 1 or 2. I feel like we should do it when it comes out, even though, like, I personally could easily skip it. And like never watch it, or never mind wait until, you know, whenever we would do it at home. But I guess
I just missed my opportunity to get the popcorn bucket last time, so that's the only reason I'm going to see it.
Yeah, I was just looking up actually. So Warner Bros. Also had The Bride this year, which bombed. They also put out Mortal Kombat 2, which spectacularly bombed. That was like almost nothing that made. So yeah, I mean, yeah, here's hoping Dune 3 and Clayface will pick up the slack.
Look, Dune 3, I have more faith in. Clayface, like, I want to believe, but let's be honest with ourselves here.
Yeah. Anyway, that is End of Oak Street. Obviously, David's got his homework movie in a second, but before we get to that, I'll just tell you about Patreon, patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You can support the show, help keep it coming. Thanks to everyone who already does. It really does make all the shows possible. This show, Collector's Cut, which me and David also do. We're doing Submarine season right now. People have been having fun with that, I think. But on Patreon, you get access to the ratings rundown segments we do for both shows. We do a bonus show monthly called Extra Reels, where we review some of the worst movies of all time. We did a free episode of that. I think there's 3 public episodes of that now on YouTube if you want to check them out. But there's like almost 50 of them now on Patreon in total, and it is that's the time. So if you want to get those bonus stuff and help support the show, you can do that over there. And also support us, of course, by liking, subscribing, commenting below on YouTube, letting us know what you think of the movie, all that good stuff. But yes, every week on Ace, David goes back and checks out one of the sci-fi movies we did before he joined the show, so he can eventually be caught up. David, what was this week's homework movie? And you promised it was dinosaur related.
I did. Have you thought of it? Do you have any idea?
I've not been thinking about it, so no, I haven't. I don't have an idea.
I thought, and that's a big container word there. I thought I was doing a Edge of Tomorrow to Groundhog Day. I thought I was doing the action equivalent of the same story. No. It's wildly different. I was doing 65. Actually, doesn't know.
on the End of Oak Street, right? One of the reviews said it's the best dinosaur movie since 1993, and I'm inclined to probably agree with that. I mean, maybe if you like one or two of the Jurassic sequels more, I could see an argument, I suppose. I think that
the first one, maybe. After that, there's a drop off.
No, Lost World's worse than 3. I don't agree with that.
Oh, I was talking about the worlds.
Oh, the worlds. Okay. You're talking about the worlds. Okay, sure. Fair enough. But anyway, the point being is 65 is a good example of, yes, one of the few attempts to do a dinosaur movie in the last 20 years, or 30 years even, that was disastrously bad.
Yes. I'll be honest, I was just bored. Like, I was watching the movie, I was taking in what the movie was doing, but ultimately I was just like, I don't care about any of this. This movie has done nothing to make me give a shit about Adam Driver and this kid and anything that's going on here. And look, the movie gets this all out of the way in the first 15 minutes. I'm going to say it. I don't think it's a spoiler, but it is the entire plot of the movie, which is, instead of time travel, there were ancient alien astronauts that looked like humans, talked like humans, did everything as humans. And out on this random planet, one of them, Adam Driver, was flying this ship and then hit some asteroids and ended up on Earth. But this was 65 million years ago. And now he's trying to transport this one kid who was in cryosleep on his ship, and they're trying to get off the planet. That's the whole plot of the movie. Here's the thing. This movie made me think about what are we expected to know about a movie going into it? Which is to say, when all that happens, everything I just described happens, and we get a giant footprint in the mud, and Adam Driver looks up and goes, ah, shit. It then comes up with the title card, 65. And then it fades in, million years ago, Earth. And I feel like some executive in the back is jerking himself off, going like, that's such a cool reveal. We just did the coolest reveal ever. But all I can think is, coming into this movie, of course it's about 65 million years ago. What did you think you were surprising me with? Do you think you were doing a Planet of the Apes in your first 15 minutes of the movie? Like, am I supposed to come into this ignoring the knowledge that the only interesting thing about the number 65 is million years ago? Like, I don't know. I was just, and then from that point on, from the moment where they showed the title card, it was just all downhill from there. It just kept going like more and more bland, more and more boring. I couldn't care less about any of the characters.
Yeah. I think I went and saw that in theaters for the review when it came out.
Gross. Absolutely gross.
I didn't feel good. I didn't feel good.
I'm sure. That was a March release as well. They had no confidence in that one. Yeah, no, I mean, look, as much as I would love to like point to specifics, it really is just like the first 20 minutes are like everything creative about the movie, and even that sucks. And then from that point on, it just keeps getting worse. So
yeah, I would never have remembered that. And I'm like, obviously, as soon as you said that, I knew what you were talking about. But try to think of that in my brain. Oh, Dinosaur movie we did? I would never have remembered 65.
Yeah, because honestly, the dinosaurs feel like an afterthought in this. It feels like they wanted to make After Earth again. They wanted to make like, oh, we landed on this planet and there's all these monsters and then we got to like fight them off. And then they just decided, oh, why not just set it in the past and make them dinosaurs? And that's it. Like, they don't feel like it's important that they're dinosaurs. It just is important that they're all trying to kill Adam Driver. So, yeah, all in all, you guys were like a lot better than I was towards it. Tara gave it a 5. You gave a 4.5. I'm feeling like a 3.5.
Oh,
I was just so completely uninterested. And maybe it's because I just got done seeing a significantly better movie that does a similar-ish thing. But like, yeah, I just wasn't into this one at all.
that is fair. That is fair. All right, well, you crossed that bad movie off the list at least then.
Just the Transformers left.
I'm sure there's a few more bad ones, but I don't know if there's going to be much worse than Transformers, admittedly. All right, well, I should have mentioned before, actually, next week's episode, but next week should be Son of Godzilla. So we're back to Godzilla franchise for a week, with what I remember being one of the worst entries, so that'll be fun. Look forward to that. And then we've got our new release after that, assuming nothing's changed release date-wise, of The Dog Stars, so we'll look forward to that as well. I've had a trailer for that a couple of times now, in my last couple of theater trips, so...
I came into this as the Bad Robot logo was coming up. I was almost late for the movie, so I didn't get any trailers on this one, but I probably would have.
That's fair. I didn't see all the trailers because I went and got food before the movie started, so I came in and like I saw the tail end. Maybe Dog Stars trailer. There was a romantic comedy called One Night Only. I got a trailer for that, and then
I don't know why, but that one seems like I like the writing style from the trailer. I might check it out just independently.
Sure. All right, we're not doing it on the sci-fi show, but yeah, go knock yourself out.
It's set in an alternate universe, Pete. It counts.
It's set in an alternate universe where people may actually be happy.
No, it's set in an alternate universe where you're not allowed to bang unless it's this one random day like The Purge.
All right, there you go. That's the show. That's the Atomic Cinema Experiment. We'll see you next time for some Son of Godzilla. But hopefully you enjoyed this one. Keep watching Science Fiction and Computer ad Salsa.